There we go. I'm sorry for those of you that have been watching us. I apologize that we had lost contact there. So I do want to apologize about that. Hopefully, we'll get you guys all back on here. I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but we'll give you a couple minutes to get everybody back on here as I invite everybody back. So let us go ahead and get everybody back invited. So I do apologize about that. We had lost some contact, it looks like. So I'm going ahead and doing that real quickly here. Okay. I think we're getting back on right now. I'm just checking here. If somebody could at least respond, let me know they're on. I apologize about that. All right, I think we are back on the air here. Yep, I think we are. Okay. I do apologize about that. Hopefully, we'll get everybody back on the line here. I do want to apologize about some of the technical difficulties we were having there. For those of you that are joining us, please share with your friends. I do apologize once again for the technical difficulties. So, due to time constraints here, I'm happy to be back with you. I know you guys missed the first segment of the show. So, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get Dante on first, and then we'll go ahead and continue from where we left off. So, I do apologize about that. Once again, if you are on, if you can please go ahead and share this with your friends. I do apologize. We had gone off air. We had lost communication due to some of the inclement weather. So please come on back with us. And we're going to be talking to Dante in one moment. Let me give him a quick call. We are getting in touch with Dante right now. And we should have him on momentarily. Um, So for those of you that got interrupted, hopefully you're all back with us now. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to welcome a very, very special individual. He is the host of the Orlando Magic. He is a sideline reporter for Fox Sports. Please welcome in my good friend Dante Marchitelli. Dante, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We had a little technical difficulty there with type, but we're back on and we're ready to talk a little bit of Orlando Magic with you. How's that sound?
I like it. I'm looking forward to it. It works out pretty well, Larry. That's my specialty, so let's do it.
Oh, well, what a coincidence that is, huh?
What a coincidence. That's great. I look forward to it. It's good that we're talking basketball again, and the NBA is on the horizon here in about 5 or 6 weeks.
Let me ask you a question about that, Dante. It was, a couple of weeks ago that the NBA decided we're going to go with one hub city and we're going to go ahead and make it Orlando, Florida. Do you think now that you look at some of these states, slowly but surely opening up their capacity in some of the arenas around the United States, do you think the NBA might have jumped the gun a little too quick on just Orlando being one of the hub cities?
Well, I don't personally, just because living here, you can understand how this city and that property in particular and Disney can absorb that amount of people coming in at one time. I mean, honestly, just on a regular day-to-day basis, even before any of this pandemic started, they probably could have 3 hotels available for that. You know, they have to move it around because Disney's so busy and a lot of those hotels are full. But the point being, they have the space, and we have the infrastructure down here, and they have the courts. They have 5 or 6 basketball courts that are broadcast ready. And I don't know that you can find another spot that has the amenities, has the basketball courts ready, has the hotels ready, and also because of what's going on, unfortunately, in this country, there aren't, the park isn't open, so there's a lot of rooms that are kind of just sitting there. So I think it's the perfect combination. Plus, obviously, Disney being a big partner of the NBA. It's a big help there as well. But living here, we see it day to day. We know how great Disney is at being able to absorb that and put on an event like that. So we certainly thought that was a terrific fit. We just didn't know how they'd be able to pull it off, or if everyone would go for it. But it's great, and I think it makes perfect sense.
Now, Dante, with everything as you just mentioned being closed in Orlando pretty much because of COVID-19 and all the parks being closed, how big is this event for the city of Orlando since they've been going through all of that?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. And you know what I think it is, too, Larry? It's just a whole big thing of, I think just for the country, that we're getting back. Slowly but surely, we're getting back. We're getting our sports back. Everybody's gone through so much, with everything that's going on. And, your heart breaks for everybody, the protests that are happening. And people are literally fighting. There's, for sweeping change coming through this nation, which needs to happen. And I think that's, that's been well documented, and we're watching that, and that's great. And then the pandemic, and then you have the people that have lost their jobs, and over 100,000 people have lost their lives, Larry. And I think we need to, if there's any way to come together as a country. Sports seems secondary at a time like this when so many people are hurting. But as you well know, sports has an unbelievable way of bringing people together. And I think that's what we're proud of, to be part of the NBA. And I think that to showcase it here in Orlando, we're certainly proud of that. So I think it's just one step in many that are needed to try to help this country heal. And I think if we can do that, NBA is going to do a great job using this 2-month platform that they're going to have, to address a number of issues as well. So I think it all makes perfect sense, and I think we're certainly proud to have it here in our backyard. You're absolutely right. But I think as a country, we should be proud that this is, of all the sports that are trying to get back, the NBA did a great job of coming to the table, everybody agreeing, kind of putting their egos to the side, and getting this done, and finding a way to get basketball back. And hopefully we can all kind of take some pride in that we're getting some sort of normalcy back here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about pride, to have it, is one thing. To be able, to have Orlando be the city that it is, one of the tourist capitals of the world, but to have your local team in it as well has to be something very special.
It is cool, but it's strange. We're kind of it's new territory for us too, because we're not playing at Amway Center. We're not playing on our home floor. But you're right, it is in our backyard, and there's some familiarity. But the players on the Magic aren't able to sleep in their own beds. They're going to have to be quarantined in this bubble as well. They're going to have to be part of that, with the rest of the players that are coming down and all their travel parties. So, a lot of them haven't stayed in these hotels and haven't played on these basketball courts. So they're kind of going to be learning like everybody else. So there will be a little bit of a learning curve. But, yeah, if there's any way that we can have a home court advantage or being in our city, then that would be fantastic. I hope that does kind of come to the forefront somehow, because we'll certainly take that. We're battling for our playoff lives and would love to get up to 7th if we can and avoid a play-in game. But this team was playing such terrific basketball right before the stoppage that it'd be great if they could find a way to kind of recapture that. But listen, you're right. There's a certain sense of pride, and certainly with these guys having the entire, kind of showcasing our city for at least for a couple of months is pretty cool.
Now, is there less pressure on these players playing in front of no fans than playing in front of a full crowd?
It's interesting. That's a good question. I've not quite heard that put that way, and I don't know if I don't think there'll be less pressure because as competitors, they're going to put a bunch of pressure on themselves. I think what's going to be different is whether you're playing at home or whether you're playing on the road, these guys feed greatly off the fans. Whether they're being booed, that motivates them, and they come together as a team. And just those 15 guys, kind of us against the world mentality that every road team has in the NBA or really any sport. Or when you're home and you just need a little extra boost, the fans do a terrific job of that. So I think they're going to I think it's going to be hard for them to manufacture some of that enthusiasm and that excitement through some of these games. They'll probably feel kind of cold initially, but they'll find a way to generate that excitement and that enthusiasm. But you're right, the fans are the biggest part of this game, and that's what makes this so much fun. And these guys are it's going to be hard for them to muster that energy and that excitement. But they'll find a way to do it because at the end of the day, they're competitors. And even if they're playing a closed practice where nobody can watch, you see that competitiveness come to the top. So they'll certainly generate that. But as far as pressure goes, now that's interesting because, I think the game's on the line and you got to make a free throw to win the basketball game. Nobody's booing. Nobody's cheering. So that might be, it's going to be quiet, and that in itself is probably going to be kind of eerie. What I'm looking forward to, Larry, is the conversations that we may be able to hear and pick up between players as they're kind of talking trash to each other, or calls that, they're calling plays, and what the coach is directing his team to do. So all that stuff that you don't really pick up. Me being part of the telecast, I see it and hear a lot of it sitting courtside. But I think that's going to be, I think, new for fans to hear a lot of that, which will be great. And we had a couple of our players tell us, Larry, that now there's no excuses. They can't say they didn't hear the coach calling out the play. So when they come back to the huddle, they can't use that one. It's going to be quiet in there, and they're all going to have to do exactly what coach says.
Well, talking about what coach says, and you mentioned a little earlier, by the way, we are talking to Dante Marchitelli. He is the host of the Orlando Magic, sideline reporter for Fox Sports. After the All-Star break, something just seemed to click with this team. I mean, at the time, of all the times for the season, and obviously with right reason, the season was suspended because of COVID-19, but the Orlando Magic were playing, like you said earlier, some of the best basketball. Yes, they were only 30 wins, 35 losses, but they had won 3 games in a row when the season was suspended. 6 of 9 and 9 out of their last 12 games. And we always talk about it's not who's playing the best basketball, who had the best record. It's who's playing the best basketball going into the playoffs. Unfortunately, the season was stopped, but they were playing some damn good basketball, weren't they?
No, you're right, Larry. They were the best offensive team in the NBA since the All-Star break. So those 12 games that you mentioned that they had won 9 of, they were the best offensive team in the NBA. This team is built on defense with the length that we have and the size and the speed out on the perimeter and the rim protection that we have. But they found something offensively. They got healthy. DJ Augustine, who many fans will know, and he's kind of been a journeyman point guard. Well, he's now 4 years in Orlando. He's found a home here, and he started last year for the Magic, and he was part of a team that went to he led them back to the playoffs for the first time in 7 years, and they stole Game 1 against Toronto, and kind of put them on ice for a couple of games. So I think he's a big part of this, and he was healthy. Michael Carter-Williams, who basketball fans will know, but there's a lot of basketball fans that didn't know he was still playing. He kind of was out of a job this time last year, and then the Magic found him, and he's one of the better defensive players in the NBA. He had picked it up offensively. Terrence Ross, who we affectionately call the Human Torch down here in Central Florida, he loves superheroes, and so we gave him a superhero nickname, and he can come off the bench and just light it up. He was averaging 22 a game. Go after the All-Star break. He was red hot. So everybody was just clicking. They found something offensively. They got healthy. They were passing the basketball. They were having fun. And so now all that said, as you mentioned, you win 9 out of 12. And oh, by the way, you were coming home before this started to play 5 consecutive games at home against teams with losing records. So you were looking at you had yourself in a pretty good position to make up some ground. And, you didn't know if you could get to 6, but, the feeling was through all of this, you could probably pass Brooklyn and find a way to, because nobody wants to play Milwaukee. Not that you want Toronto. We saw that last year, or Boston for that matter, but you just want to give yourself a fighting chance, and you don't know if you have one against Milwaukee because they're so good. There was a feeling that they were kind of getting this thing going in the right direction, and then, could Isaac potentially come back at some point, and could you add some help that way? And now we don't know. Maybe with a 2 or 3 month layoff, maybe he's part of the picture here down the road. We'll have to play that day by day. But they had found something offensively. They were getting better defensively, and they did it last year. Last year for the final 29 games of the season, they were the best defensive team in the NBA. So they seem to find it about February-ish, and then go on a run here the last couple of years. So it was, you mentioned that 3-game winning streak. We were in Memphis, Larry, when they started saying that reporters couldn't talk to players. So that's when things kind of started getting real, and you started feeling that, boy, this is kind of eerie. This is strange. They win that game, come back, win it in dramatic fashion, and we're standing on the tarmac, going to grab our luggage and go home, and you're thinking, boy, please find a way for this season to continue, because they just, as you mentioned, they had found something and were playing so well. But as you also mentioned, we understand why, and it was certainly the right decision, and you had to shut it down. But hopefully they can recapture as much of that as possible.
And Dante, Steve Clifford, who's I remember him as an assistant coach with the Knicks, I believe the Rockets as well. He was always known for his expertise when it came to defense. But it seemed to me like after the All-Star break, you mentioned that the offense just started clicking, but it seemed like they switched their game a lot. And I don't know if you noticed the same thing, but they seem to be a lot more aggressive, a lot more higher tempo style offense where, before they would come down, they slow it down. They try to take a shot with maybe 4, 5, 6 seconds left on the clock, where now they just hustle down the court and they get an open shot and they take it.
Well, and that's a good observation, because you're exactly right. Steve Clifford teams have prided themselves on protecting the basketball. And if you look, when he was coaching Charlotte and now 2 years in Orlando, they are historically one of the teams that have the fewest turnovers in the NBA. And that was the same thing here. And you do that by slowing down the tempo, by controlling the pace. At some point you're walking the ball up the floor, but you're not getting too many possessions so you can limit the turnovers. Well, they kind of scrapped that and threw that out the window a little bit. Still want to protect the basketball, and you don't want to throw it away, because that just kills you when you give away. If for teams that struggle to score and don't have a quote unquote superstar that they can go to get baskets at any time, every possession is critical. So it's a great philosophy, but they found themselves getting stops with their length out on the perimeter, and Michael Carter-Williams. Key among them, James Ennis, which is a very underrated pickup. He was playing terrific basketball. These guys are wreaking havoc on the perimeter, and you're getting stops, and you're getting out in transition. And you're right, they were picking up a ton of fast break points, trying to score quickly, which Steve Clifford has always wanted them to do. If there's an opportunity to run. But if you don't have it, then come down and set up your offense. So you're right. There was more of a commitment to getting stops and getting out in transition. And quite frankly, they were shooting lights out. This team has not shot the ball well. Bottom third of the NBA in field goal percentage and three-point percentage. But that started to turn, and at some point you're going to knock down shots. And everybody was making shots, and that's a big part of it too. And it goes to the confidence, Larry. You know, if you're getting stops and you're getting out, and everybody's getting a taste, and everybody's getting a basket, and everybody's feeling like they're part of it, well, then you get in a rhythm. And then, you know, now when it's your turn, the ball swings to you, and you find yourself open in the corner. Now you're knocking down that three. You're not second guessing yourself because you missed the last couple. You know, it was a much more confident group, and I think that was showing itself.
And you talk about contagiousness, how confidence becomes contagious among a team. If you look at these guys during the All-Star break, just a couple quick statistics. You got, Nikola Vucevic, Terrence Ross, Evan Fournier, all of them since the All-Star break were averaging over 20 points per game since the All-Star break. And then you add Aaron Gordon averaged 17 points, and Markelle Fultz was averaging 13 points. So it's not just one guy. You're talking about, over 5 different guys that have just turned up the notch to just a completely different level.
Yeah, for a team that was averaging about 102, 103 points per game, they were up to almost 120.
Right.
So to get to that mark, you're right. Nick Vucevic was scoring more. He's having a career year, and he's over 40% from three. He's our best three-point shooter. Nick Vucevic is our highest scorer. Markelle Fultz, who a lot of people were ready to give up on, this past summer. If you'd have seen that guy 1 year ago today, Larry, it was a struggle for him because of the injury to his shoulder to physically reach the rim from the free throw line with the basketball. I mean, he just didn't have the strength, and he had so much pain last June. So now he's got June, July, August, September, 3-4 months after that, he's in training camp, and he's kind of resurrecting his career, and he's been a huge catalyst for this Magic success, averaging 12 points, 4 or 5 assists here during this season. So it's been a great comeback story in the NBA. Just turned 22 the other day. So we're starting to see some of these guys kind of come into their own. Aaron Gordon, I think, is probably as big a reason as anybody, because not only the scoring, which you're right, he's picked that up a little bit, but he's picked up his defense, he's picked up his rebounding, he's been a better passer. They're running offense through him a lot more. So now he has the ability with his size. We saw him from the slam dunk contest. I'm sure you saw that, and he should be a 2-time champion, by the way, if I can throw that in there, for being in the slam dunk contest. But with his size and his physicality, he's just able to muscle through other 3s and 4s who just don't have his size, and he's been able to score a lot, get to the free throw line that way, and really set up for his teammates. So again, just kind of the thing was they had all kind of found something, and they had all gotten better and improved, and you hated to see it stop. But you obviously, were understood why it had to happen, and certainly in favor of that. But if they can just capture that, they've been watching film, they've been watching video, they've rewatched every game that they played to this year. They just got to knock off a lot of the rust, and they've still got 5 weeks to do that, get their conditioning up. But the hope is that they kind of have figured it out, and hopefully that can continue. But yeah, Aaron Gordon was a big piece of that. He's in his 6th season in the NBA, Larry, but he's 24. What did we know at 24 years old? Just think about put ourselves back at young 24-year-olds, and that's this guy's now in year 6 in the NBA. So he's still trying to figure it out. Mo Bamba is a guy that's got to get it figured out, but he's just in his 2nd year. He's a 7-footer. Probably has the best 3-point stroke on the team. It's just a beautiful shot. If he can get more consistency there, and then Jonathan Isaac, whenever they can get him back, whether it's during this restart or if it's not till next season, he's going to be one of, if not the most dominant presences in the NBA.
Yeah, we are talking to Dante Marchitelli. He is the host of the Orlando Magic, and he's a sideline reporter for Fox Sports. Couple questions before we let you run here, Dante. We talked a little bit earlier about momentum going into playoffs. All these teams haven't played in since March. Yeah, but let's just say since really the beginning of March to the middle of March. Does the layoff, the unexpected layoff, I should say, does that help the Orlando Magic?
I think it does. I think it kind of levels the playing field somewhat. I don't see how it can't. Now, listen, everybody's going to be rusty, and it's going to take a while for them to get back to that level. And listen, I think some of the elite teams in the NBA, like the Giannis Antetokounmpos, the LeBron James, the Kawhi, you can just roll out the basketball, and those guys cannot touch it for 6 months, and they're going to go out there and they're going to be superstars. So their teammates, I still think it's going to take a while for everybody to get back into a rhythm. So I think it's kind of a level playing field, at least for a couple of weeks, 5-6 games, as you're playing these seeding games and trying to figure things out. Eventually, the cream will rise to the crop. It always, the cream of the crop will rise, but eventually, it always does. But I just don't see how, if Orlando, if they've been working hard already, if they hit the training camp hard, and I look at a team like Portland too. It's Orlando because that's the team that I represent. But I think about Portland getting a couple guys back in Nurkic and Collins, and they've got 2 superstars. I mean, what team would want to play them in the Western Conference in a play-in game? I mean, that team's going to be stacked. So I think depending on how much work you're putting in now, you could really do yourself a good service and hit the ground running. So I think it helps them. Could it help them enough where they could upset Milwaukee? I don't know that can happen, just because I think Milwaukee's too good, and I just think they're going to be able to probably cruise for a round or two. But if you get Toronto or Boston, could you make some noise against a team like that? Could you make some noise against Milwaukee? Possibly, just because I think there's going to be a feeling out period at first, and again, if this team has really found something, and that can continue right when they throw the ball up here in 5 weeks, then I that could give them an advantage.
So, in closing, let me ask you this, and I think I know your answer because you've been mentioning the Milwaukee Bucks a lot, and obviously was the best team in the NBA. Do you see anybody being able to defeat the Milwaukee Bucks?
I don't. I really don't. I just think they were playing at such an incredible level, and they've got so many weapons. And you look at Giannis and you say, okay, that guy's a superstar, probably the MVP of this league. It'll be him or LeBron. But I think you give him the nod. He really, Chris Middleton is an all-star, but he's a great shooter. But you don't think of him in the same line of LeBron and Kawhi Leonard and some of the teammates that they have. Kawhi has Paul George, and you would argue there's not a 2-star lineup like all the other teams. So you look at it, you say it's Giannis's team, and he's got a lot of nice pieces around him. But man, it works. They've got shooting all the way around the floor on that team. So I think that team is just such a weapon. And the other reason I said that, they've been such a problem for us with their length. I mean, it just has not been a good matchup with Giannis, and it hasn't been a good matchup for a lot of teams in the NBA. So I just don't see I just don't see anyone upsetting them. I can't see them not getting to the NBA Finals. Now, listen, everybody's so quick to pass on Toronto because they don't have Kawhi Leonard, but that team went through more injuries than anyone, and they're only 5-6 games behind Milwaukee. So they've had an unbelievable season. Maybe with what they did last year, maybe if that's the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, I don't write off Toronto. I don't see that they couldn't find a way to slow that down, drag that out, force Giannis to beat you, and maybe they can upset them and go to the NBA Finals again, even without Kawhi. I think they're that good. But I think it's those 2 teams for sure, but I don't think anyone beats Milwaukee personally. Now, can Milwaukee beat the Lakers or the Clippers in an NBA Finals? That I don't know. I don't know that they're at that level yet, but I think Milwaukee's going to be there. And something just tells me, Larry, I don't know. It is so hard to count out LeBron James, and it is so hard to count out Kawhi Leonard after seeing really what he did single-handedly last year. I feel like those guys have a lot to prove, and I think those guys are going to come out and play some spirited basketball. But I think the Bucks will too.
All right, Dante. First of all, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us on Frankly Speaking Sports. Maybe once these games get started playing and, maybe after the Orlando Magic, win a couple of games to start out the playoffs or the resumption of the regular season, maybe we can get back together and do this again.
Anytime, Larry. You give me a call. I'll be happy to do it. You take care and watch. You know, you're right. We're going to be proud of kind of what's going on here in our backyard, and I think you're going to see the NBA do some very special things here in the next couple months, and we're all going to be very proud to be a part of that. And we're just glad. Hey, I'm glad to be talking with you and talking basketball and talking sports again. So take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, be safe, my friend.
You too. You too.
That was the great Dante Marchitelli. He is the host of the Orlando Magic and the sideline reporter for Fox Sports. What a great conversation. It's so glad. I am so happy to have sports coming back. I am just so happy to have basketball leading the way and doing what they need to do to get back on the court. Now, I know we had a little technical difficulties at the beginning of the show, and a lot of you might have missed the first segment. Just want to review that real quickly with you. For those of you that are Tampa Bay Rays fans, and we're going to get back to basketball in a minute, but for those of you that are Tampa Bay Rays fans, they had the Major League Baseball draft, and we already went over the first 3 draft picks for the Tampa Bay Rays. And for those of you just joining us, I just want to go over them again. With the 24th pick, the Tampa Bay Rays picked Nick Bitsko. He is a right-handed pitcher out of Pennsylvania, has an unbelievable 97-mile-per-hour fastball and a ugly-looking curveball that is just fools people. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, 17 years old. He's 4-2, 1.27 ERA, and had 68 strikeouts in 30-something innings in a little over a year, 2 years in high school. So just incredible amount of potential for this right-handed pitcher. Then with the 37th pick, they went after an unbelievable defensive shortstop out of Arizona State, Alika Williams. He managed to get that batting average up. A lot of people were concerned about his bat, but he was batting .300 for Arizona State. And his defense is Ozzie Smith-like defense. So another great draft. Then with the 57th pick, they went after a left-handed pitcher in Ian Seymour, who's known for a four-seamer and a filthy changeup pitch. He had 191 strikeouts in 159 innings. So that was what we basically talked about at the beginning. And then we went over the format, which I'm going to do again, of the NBA, of what's going on in Orlando. Some of it's been updated, so I want to make sure everybody is on board. July 9th through 11th is when the training camps are going to open up. They're allowed to go ahead and start practices, and then, of course, the season will begin July 31st through October 12th. Now, it's important to remember here a couple of things. Number one, the new season for 2021 is slated right now to start December 1st. So the team that actually wins the championship or goes to the finals, the two teams, are not really going to have much of a layoff, less than a month layoff before they have to go back and start their camps for the next season. So that's definitely something they got to think about. It's going to be, when they return, it's going to be a 16-day regular season. The NBA is going to be playing 5 to 6 games a day to complete the regular season. Each team is expected to play one back-to-back game amongst those 8 games regular season. The NBA Finals format to include games every single day during the best-of-7 series. Just so you know, a lot of people are talking about the safety, what happens if it's not safe, this and that. Listen to this, okay? This will get you. 14 of the 22 NBA teams that are actually showing up to Orlando will be gone within the first 53 days. They will be eliminated in the first 53 games, which means there's only going to be 8 teams remaining. 6 teams are going to be eliminated in the first 8 regular season games. So we're going to lose 6 teams right away. Okay? So those are important things. And then 4 teams will remain after 67 days. So you got a lot of information there. And just once again, for those of you who are not aware of which teams are going to be playing in the NBA, it's 13 teams from the Western Conference and 9 from the Eastern Conference. The 13 from the Western Conference are as follows: the LA Lakers, the LA Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, Dallas Mavericks, Memphis Grizzlies, Portland Trailblazers, New Orleans Pelicans, Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, and the Phoenix Suns. Then the Eastern Conference is the Milwaukee Bucks, the Toronto Raptors, the Boston Celtics, the Miami Heat, the Indiana Pacers, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Brooklyn Nets, the Orlando Magic, and the Washington Wizards. Now, we talked a little with Dante, and he told you, about Orlando could be a dangerous team. And for those of you just joining us or joined us after our unfortunate technical difficulties, we had come back on the air, and I want to announce some breaking network news here on Frankly Speaking Sports. Number one, tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Time, we will be going live with a live interview with Seattle Mariners, the voice of the Seattle Mariners, Dave Sims. He's been covering and doing play-by-play for the Seattle Mariners for the last 15 years. He will be joining us for a live interview. We will put it on the Frankly Speaking Sports Network, right on the Frankly Speaking Facebook group page at 12 o'clock noon. So just another great interview that we have planned for tomorrow. And then Monday night, do me a favor. Get your raise gear, get your hat, get your shirt. I don't care if you gear up and get ready to play, because an unbelievable guest on Monday night, the play-by-play broadcaster, television broadcaster, who's been with the Tampa Bay Rays since the inception of the team. That's 1998. Dwayne Stats will be joining us live Monday night. We'll talk about the Tampa Bay Rays, about baseball. Hopefully, maybe by then we might hear something. But we got lots and lots of questions for Dwayne. So please make sure Monday night you set it on your calendar. 9 p.m. Eastern Time we'll go live. Dwayne will probably join us 15 minutes into the show, and we'll be talking some Tampa Bay Rays baseball. Damn, I can't wait till baseball starts. Hopefully, we'll hear something good about that. A couple of other things newsworthy. Today's news in the NBA. Players who decline to participate in the NBA restart will be ineligible to return for the remainder of the 2019-2020 season. So if a player decides at first they don't want to play, and then their team goes a little bit further maybe than they expected, they cannot come back and play. They cannot. And the team may be allowed to sign a replacement player to fill out the roster spot if that player decides they don't want to play. So let's just say hypothetically, LeBron James says he doesn't want to play. Then the Lakers could find a replacement for him and fill that spot. Now, the concerns from the players and everybody is obviously the player concerns that would be allowed, obviously, for a player not to return would not be limited to, obviously, family situation, inability to leave the Disney Resort campus, COVID-19, and the social injustice. They say that you can't leave Disney bubble without a 10-day quarantine if you leave when you come back. So if a player was to leave, you have to quarantine 10 days before coming back. And this brings up another great debate. And by the way, if you're on the line, leave me a comment. I know we had a bunch of people on earlier, and then we lost signal, and we're back now. Go ahead and leave a quick message. Let me know you're on. Let me know who you think the greatest basketball player, in your opinion, was of all time. I know we got about 20 minutes left in the show. I would love to get some feedback, love to get some questions. Please, participate. We want your participation. We're on a lot of different platforms right now. I want to also let you know that if If somebody you know did not get to watch the show tonight, they can go to our Frankly Speaking Sports page. Please invite all your friends. It's one of the fastest growing pages out there. Have them join. We'll accept them, and they'll be a new member of Frankly Speaking Sports. We have a YouTube channel. We show all of our videos, all of our podcasts, all of these shows are on the YouTube channel called Frankly Speaking Sports. Also, if you go to a sports bar, you can watch us on TV. Most people have a smart TV right now. All you have to do is tell them on that smart TV to go to YouTube. You can type in Frankly Speaking Sports, hit search, and after you see all the different Frankly Speaking stuff, you'll go to the circle with the football field in it, press it, and it'll give you an option of what video or what show you want to watch from Frankly Speaking Sports. What better way to watch Frankly Speaking Sports than a brewski and some popcorn or some chicken wings or whatever it is that you enjoy? So go ahead and do that. But we were talking about this debate, and the debate, I don't like it. And I'm going to tell you something. What don't I like? I don't like where these players necessarily get an option to decide if they want to play or they don't want to play. Now, let me explain myself and what I mean with this. Obviously, if a player has a family member who has contracted the virus or they need their help caring for them, I completely understand that. I completely understand that. Or if they have, something going on with the family member that, maybe they have asthma and the safety of their health right now is not the best. I understand that. But for a player just to decide, I don't want to play, it's just asinine to me. I don't see how the NBA could allow a player to decide. If I went to work tomorrow and I'm working for a company and I tell that company I don't want to come to work, I don't want to come to work, they're going to fire me. But not in the NBA. Who can tell your boss you don't want to work if they tell you? Now, if someone says, well, Larry, how safe is it? Well, if it isn't safe, they shouldn't be playing the damn game to begin with. So why are they playing a game if it's not safe? Everybody out there is now saying it is safer than it has been since COVID-19 started. Now, you're going to get some people that'll come out and they'll say, well, Larry, come on. Let's use common sense here. You see the cases are going up and up and up. Yes, they are. But the reason there's so many more cases nowadays is because there's so much more testing going on nowadays. So obviously the more tests, the more negative results you're going to get. But if you also look at the statistics, more people are being healed, than ever before. So as far as being treated for it and it being corrected, it's also at its highest point, which makes sense. So not as many people are dying from COVID-19 because of this. Eventually I know we're going to get a vaccine for it. But right now, the NBA, if you're saying, if you don't think it's safe enough, then we shouldn't even be talking about the NBA coming back. That's number one. Number two, if it isn't safe, don't play. But if you're saying it's safe, what business owner is going to allow its player, unless one of those situations that we're talking about somebody being sick in the family, is not going to, what business is going to allow you not to go to work? It just doesn't make sense. This world that we live in today has gotten so, I don't know what the word is. Immature is not the right word, but they got no backbones anymore. It's almost like, I don't want to go to work, I don't go to work. Well, no, you don't go to work, you don't get paid, you don't play, and we find somebody else to do the job. And, I'm not knocking NBA players or any other professional athletes, but at the end of the day, you have a job. You support your family. If your workplace is telling you you can come back to work, then you come back to work. I mean, let's think of this. At least they're being nice enough to say, if somebody in your family does need your help, we're okay with that. So, give, Adam Silver and the NBA credit for that. So I don't know what everybody's take is on that, but my opinion is if your bosses are telling you it's okay to come back to work and you don't have a family member that needs your care because of this coronavirus, then you have no excuse not to come back to work. Want to remind you, once again, if you're just joining us, we had a very breaking news special announcement, a network announcement on Frankly Speaking Sports that tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon, Dave Sims will be joining us live on the Frankly Speaking Sports Facebook group page for a live interview. Who's Dave Sims? He's covered the Seattle Mariners for the last 15 years, play-by-play announcer. And then on Monday night, like I said earlier, get your Ray gear ready. That's right, your Tampa Bay hat, your Tampa Bay Rays shirt, because what a guest we have for you. This Monday night, our show starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and the play-by-play broadcaster of the Tampa Bay Rays, he's been there since the Tampa Bay Rays has come into existence, Dwayne Statz will be joining us live on Frankly Speaking Sports. So the next two shows, just unbelievable experience, professionalism, and these play-by-play announcers are averaging, close to 20 years each on play-by-play announcing for professional baseball. So just some great shows coming up. But we go back to the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks are probably going to be the team to beat. Giannis, I agree, probably one of the best basketball players out there right now. But, anything can happen when you go ahead and start up a season like this. Because we talked about momentum. And momentum, usually the team, as we talked to Dante about, going into the playoffs with playing the best basketball is the team that usually fares pretty well. Doesn't mean they automatically win the championship, but they go on to the next round. The Orlando Magic, if you didn't hear these stats that I talked to Dante about, since the All-Star break, just incredible. Here's a team that was barely averaging 100 points a game. They go ahead, they're averaging over 120 points per game since the All-Star break. Now, yes, they were only 30 and 35, but listen to this. They just started playing their best basketball since the All-Star break. They had won the last 3 games before the season was suspended. Okay, they had won 6 of 9 and 9 out of 12 games. Put it in simple perspective for those of you that don't understand 9 of 12, they were 9 and 3 in their last 12 games. Just unbelievable. And when you look at that team and look at Nikola Vucevic, just a beast. Terrence Ross, Evan Fournier, all averaging 20 points since the break. And then you also got Aaron Gordon, who came out of nowhere, averaging 17 points, and Marshall Fultz averaging 13. So just an amazing stretch that the Orlando Magic, they were having. And, like we talked with Dante, Steve Clifford's known, I've been a Knicks fan since I grown up. I mean, I was a huge Knicks fan. Bernard King was one of my favorite players. I remember Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, Bill Cartwright, John Starks, Ray Richardson, Bob McAdoo, Dave DeBusschere, Bradley, Earl Monroe, all these guys. I grew up a Knicks fan. And Steve Clifford, when he was with the Knicks as an assistant coach, was known for defense. And that's what they were doing the first half of the season. They were trying to play more of a defensive style game. But I'll tell you what, when they turned up that notch after the All-Star break and started running down court and playing that higher tempo basketball, they became a fun team to watch. And I'm hoping, and I say I'm hoping because there has been a layoff, that same momentum and that same aggressiveness they were using on the offensive side of the ball, I hope they're going to continue to do that. So let's hope they do. Also, the Major League Baseball draft does end tonight. So I do want to let you know that, and we can keep you updated on that. We already went over what's going on there. The Tampa Bay Rays have been working out. They have been working out, actually, according to Kevin Cash, they actually have been doing a lot more involvement in the workouts. They have turned it up a notch. I mean, this is a team, and we're going to talk more about this on Monday when we have Dwayne Stats on with us. But this is a team that was expected to go real far in the playoffs during the 2020 season, and unfortunately, but with good reason, the season was stopped. So, depending on how many games, it's going to be, baseball's going to be different this year. Robert Manfred, if you didn't listen to our show yesterday, and once again, if you didn't, you can go back to YouTube and go to our YouTube channel, Frankly Speaking Sports, and you can go ahead and rewatch that show. It's Frankly Speaking Sports. Subscribe. It is free. But Robert Manfred said yesterday, there's 100%, no doubt about it, there's going to be a baseball season. So the question's going to be is how many games? And in the past, you've seen teams, the Oakland Athletics are known for this. In the Western American League West, they start off slow and they finish up strong. And, this year you can't do that. Because these games, not that the games don't mean a lot at the beginning of a season during a regular season. How many teams they end up 1 or 2 games out, and you go, well, if we would have won those first 2 games of the season. But it's just so much more important when you play half a season, because you can't afford to go in slumps like in a regular season. In a regular season, you can get, you expect the team to go in a slump or 2 throughout the year, and then they get it back together and they play great baseball. But I'll tell you what, if you're a Tampa Bay Ray fan, I'm telling you what, you should be looking forward to this season already getting underway, because this team is going to be a team to reckon with. And you got to also remember, Charlie Morton's contract ends at the end of the year. So, I don't know if they're going to re-sign Charlie Morton. I hope they do. So all that money you invested in Charlie, well, you didn't really spend it because the contract's going to be prorated, but you expected that time for him to be on your team. And obviously it's cut in half now because of COVID-19. But that was the baseball news. And once again, we'll talk to Dwayne on Monday. Also, if you didn't hear last night towards the end of our show, we talked about the Confederate flag is now being eliminated. It is completely being eliminated from NASCAR altogether. So I do want to let you guys know that. So you will no longer see, supposedly it's done, no more events, nothing with the Confederate flag. And I gave you my opinion yesterday on the Confederate flag, so we're not going to go into that again. And I know you guys see me over here on my phone here. I'm looking if I can find this for you. It looks like it was removed, so I won't be... Oh yeah, actually here it is. There was a statement issued today by the NHL that they're going to phase 3 now. Phase 3 is the last phase before they go on to open training camps. So right now the NHL, and I was looking for the actual press release, but it seems like it was deleted for some reason. But they will do that starting in the middle of July. I think it's phase 3 is going to start. So the NHL season, you talked about the NBA season starting up at the end of July. The NHL season is going to be pretty much in that same area, it seems like. So I do want you all to know that the NHL is coming back. The NBA is coming back. The NFL is going on as planned. And the same old crap with Major League Baseball having their fingers stuck somewhere. So hopefully we will find something out soon with Major League Baseball. Want to remind you all, If you're not familiar with Frankly Speaking Sports, we have several different platforms that you can listen to us on. Obviously, a lot of you are listening tonight on our Facebook group called Frankly Speaking Sports. Want to also remind you that we have other platforms. We are on Anchor FM, Spotify, Breaker, Google, all those different platforms that you can listen to Frankly Speaking Sports. I've been talking about it, so many times tonight. We have our YouTube channel, Frankly Speaking Sports. Please subscribe. It is free. All you got to do is hit the subscribe button. It doesn't charge you. And you get access to all of our shows. Incredible. Just incredible that you can take one finger, boop, 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 you're done. Wow, unbelievable. And also follow us on Twitter. Most of us have Twitter accounts. I'm new to the Twitter feed. I'm going to be, real frank with you on that. But I'm trying to do my best to retweet stuff out, to go ahead and, just give you the most updated information when it comes to the world of sports. And we, of course, do put our podcasts and different interviews on there as well. Once again, we want to remind you tomorrow, 12 o'clock noon, special edition, that's Eastern time, edition of Frankly Speaking Sports, Dave Sims, the Seattle Mariner play-by-play announcer of the last 15 years, is going to be joining us for a live interview. So good stuff to talk about with him. Then Monday night, like I said, get that Ray gear. If you don't have your Rays gear yet, what are you waiting for? The season's going to be here soon. Go ahead, get that Rays gear. And we're going to go ahead and have Dwayne Stats, the play-by-play announcer who's been with us through the inception of the Tampa Bay Rays, 1998. I believe that's, going on 22 years Dwayne has been with the Rays. And before, he was with the Cubs. He knew Harry Carey. So I'm sure that'll come up Monday too. But just a great show Monday night with Dwayne Stats and tomorrow with Dave Sims. Two of the best at what they do in Major